You can be the best fighting game player in the world and still not be considered the best anymore. Not because you declined, because the system changed. A rule is coming, and when it arrives, some of the greatest players of this era may no longer qualify as the best anymore. Not in theory, on record. Because for the first time in fighting game history, mastery of one game might not be enough. For decades, the system was simple. You picked a game, you mastered it, you became the best. Every era had its specialists, players who didn't just win, they defined their game. Street Fighter, Tekken, Marvel. Each one had its own ecosystem, its own language, its own elite. And greatness was measured inside those boundaries. That system worked because it was never stress tested. Here's what the fighting game community never fully resolved. There was no single best player. Only the best within systems. The best Street Fighter player. The best Tekken player. The best Marvel player. But those titles didn't translate. Different timing, different logic, different instincts. So the divide stayed in place. Because forcing players across systems would expose the gap. Now, that gap isn't hidden anymore. EVO's new global structure introduces something the FGC has never had: a unified direction towards a single standard. In EVO's official announcement, they described it like this: this new format will require competitors to showcase their mastery of multiple fighting games. Only by demonstrating next level skills across the entire fighting game genre can a player rise to claim this championship. They're not just introducing a new format. They're redefining what mastery looks like. It creates a system where proving you're the best across multiple games becomes the standard the scene moves towards. Not as a side challenge, but as a shift in direction. And if that direction holds, some of the best players in the world may no longer qualify for that title. Specialization creates dominance, but it also creates dependency. You refine one system. You build one set of reactions. You internalize one rule set until it becomes instinct. And in a multi-game structure, those instincts don't always transfer cleanly. Sometimes they actively work against you. Because now you're not competing in your system, you're adapting in someone else's. This would be like asking Usain Bolt, the fastest man in the world, to compete in the decathlon and still expect him to win overall. Like, not just sprint, but jump, throw, and endure. Like, events he never built his dominance around. And we've already seen what happens when the greatest leave their system. Michael Jordan, at the peak of his dominance, left basketball. and became a minor league baseball player. Same competitor, same discipline, different system, different outcome. The greatest in one system doesn't guarantee the same result in another. This isn't theoretical. It directly affects how we evaluate players right now. Take Arsenal Nash, like a player who dominated Tekken globally. Or Mana RD, who proved he can win at the highest level across multiple Street Fighter eras. Under the old system, that's enough. That's undisputed greatness. Under a multi-game system, it might not be. Because the question changes. It's no longer, are you the best in your game? It becomes, can you prove it across systems? And if you can't, your legacy doesn't disappear, but it can be reclassified. Not as the best player in the world, but as the best within a system the new standard no longer prioritizes. This shift doesn't just remove advantages. It selects for something else. Not the most optimized player, the most adaptable. Players who can learn systems quickly, transfer fundamentals across games, rebuild instincts under pressure. That's a different kind of dominance. And very few players have proven that they can sustain it. And the players who can won't just win more. They'll redefine what winning looks like. This doesn't change who wins. It changes how greatness is measured. Because if the standard shifts, the past doesn't scale the same way. Players who were once considered the best in the world may not meet that definition anymore. Not because they weren't dominant, because the system used to measure dominance has changed. That doesn't erase what they did, but it changes how it's compared. And once that shift happens, history doesn't look the same. This is the first real movement towards a unified definition of greatness in the FGC. Not fully realized yet, but clearly forming. One direction, one standard, one evolving definition. And if that direction holds, there's no reverting back. The old era rewarded mastery. The emerging era rewards versatility. And players who don't adapt won't slowly fall behind. They'll risk becoming less relevant in how greatness is defined. And for the first time, being the best in the world might not mean what people think it does. Now, if you want to understand where competitive fighting games are going, not just who's winning, but what winning is becoming, subscribe, because the next episode drops in 2 weeks.